This movie shows just how easily someone can hack into your computer. Like, with a little button trickery, they can see every single thing that you have on that computer and what's happening on your screen. So before we start this review, I got like 9 gigs of porn to go clear out. Be back in a little bit. Straight from the source material infused into the movie is commentary, social and political, straight from Stieg Larson, on things ranging from sexual abuse crimes, gender roles in society, financial sector corruption, religion, and even how our society treats and sometimes castigates people who are considered intellectually inferior and incompetent, and how that system is oh so faulty. And the movie itself gives all of those things stinging, but not too overt attacks. And what makes it so great is how the story is told. In the first half, you have a split between the story being from the eyes of Mikkel and also from Lisbeth Salander. And from getting each individual, it's actually very interesting to see the way they see things differently and the different situations they're going through. And that's also something with the film. Is one thing I think they did Lisbeth's story extremely well. Mikkel's story also very well, but the thing is, his relationships aren't very developed well, at least with on the case of Erica Berger, because she is a very big character, at least should be an important character, because there's a lot in here having to do with relationships between men and women, and I think that's a very important one because he has several relationships throughout the movie and even more throughout the book. So I think that was not developed enough, and you really don't even get a sense of who she is and why she's important for most of the movie, but then it's a very minor grievance. And in the last half, when those two things fuse together and Lisbeth and Mikkel start working together, it's some amazing filmmaking right there, because that's when they start unraveling this mystery. And I think they do the mystery very well. I think the only problems are somewhat of the structure of release of evidence, because at least from the book, and I don't want to sit here comparing it to the book, because, you know, while I will make comparisons, it doesn't really affect my overall rating on the movie, because, you know, that'd be unfair. But the problem is that the way they structure it, or the structural changes, I don't know, at least for me, made it somewhat less climactic when you reach the reveal, because it's supposed to go, or it starts to go as you don't get much information on it, and then you get a lot of information at once, but you don't really know these characters all that well, so they'll draw conclusions on screen that you may be far behind, so by the time they make the next conclusion, you're still just kind of catching up on the next one, which is fantastic when you're sitting there piecing it together, because there is nothing like interactive filmmaking, and that's amazing when you're solving the mystery just as the characters are on the screen. That's fantastic. But I think the structure could have been tuned up just a little bit, but otherwise, the mystery is amazing. I already knew what happens when I saw the movie, but I'm still finding myself guessing and looking for these little pinpoint things. So even if you have seen, or you have read the books, and you're going to see this movie, you're still gonna, you know, make these little guesses, because there are little changes, and, you know, they made sense. You know, they weren't changed from the book just for the sake of change. They actually made sense, obviously, having to cut down time and things like that. For that reason, some of the things that they cut out kind of don't put the full effect to some of the themes that are only, like, partially discussed or used throughout the movie, but that's fine, because honestly, I don't even care. The little problems I have, just from the fact that it changes some things from the book, they're not a big deal, because this movie is downright amazing. The score by Trent Reznor, oh my god, you're sitting there watching this movie, and this score is creeping up your spinal cord and making you, God, it is creepy at times. I think David Fincher really gets down is an atmosphere, because this movie really needs one, as a mystery should, and it does. It has an incredibly moody tone from the minute you get on that island. There is an eerie factor to every single thing. It manages to bring together a fine, unflinching critique of society, and a completely engrossing and taut mystery in some of the best filmmaking I have seen all year. And so much of that has to do with the direction from David Fincher, from the source material Stieg Larson, and the amazing performances. Just Rooney Mara. She really captures this, almost seeming like the unlikely hero, because you're rooting for her throughout this entire movie. And, you know, she's weird, but you don't even care past a certain point. And Daniel Craig, I think, is also amazing, because you can tell that he's backing down ever so slightly, you know, to let Rooney Mara shine, because this is the girl with the dragon tattoo. This is not the Michael Blomkist of Daniel Craig. That didn't make any sense. But anyway, Mikhail Blomkvist, or whatever. A lot of his performance is internalized, because a lot of it's going on inside of his head, and he does a really good job there. He also displays this witty, sarcastic character, and actually is pretty funny at times. Also doesn't step back too far as to not manage to battle almost intellectually with Rooney Mara's character, because that was kind of one of the themes of the movie, is he's slightly below her, but they're still going at each other, almost, you know, trying to see who's going to solve the case first, if you will. And they both do an amazing job. They have such a fantastic chemistry. Like, you would never guess that Daniel Craig and Rooney Mara, especially, you know, being these two characters, would have such amazing chemistry. And the performances all around are very good. You have Robin Wright, Jorvik von Wegengon, and Steve Burkoff. And they were all very good, but I really want to mention Stellan Skarsgard, who was so fantastic. I really have to commend him. Also, you know, from having prior knowledge of his character, he plays Martin, a complex character, in the most amazing way, where you never quite know what he's thinking, but he almost has a possessing on-screen chemistry where there's mixtures of trust and suspicion, which all of the characters have, because you have to, you know, put every single person under some suspicion. And each character does a very good job of, you know, delivering some sort of eeriness, because, you know, as Christopher Plummer says, who is also very good, in the beginning, that these are all these detestable people, as he so loves that word, and each one, you know, you have reasons for suspecting, and this movie is a lot of fun. It's almost weird to say that, because it's so brutal and intense, but it is a lot of fun with the mystery-wise, trying to figure out what's going on. And this is one of my favorite movies of the year. I absolutely love it. I could go on for hours, and I really almost want to, because there's so many undertones, so much messages, so many themes, so many things I want to discuss. There's so much going on in this material. But I can't even go into a lot of it without spoiling anything, which I don't want to do, because you don't want this movie spoiled for you. But I will give this obviously a 10 out of 10. If I didn't, then, you know, I would have ridiculously high standards. But this movie is just so good. I urge, you know, yes, it's not a movie that's for everyone per se, but I think you should go in with an open mind and know that there's a deep message behind this movie. It's not mindless, and it's very true. It's brutally honest, and you should respect it as so, and I fucking love this movie. Open the file. Oh, wow, that's so long. This is going to take a couple hours.